Steph Curry made Game 7 history to set up a dream matchup with LeBron James. The NFL draft features some steals as well as some whiffs, and I have proof that the NBA playoff bubble from 2020 was, in fact, not a fluke. Let's take a look back at the weekend that was in sports. Welcome into the last weekend in sports, everybody. Thank you very much, all out there. All right, quiet down now. Thank you. It's your boy, Scott Procter, as always, and it's your Monday morning quarterback here. Before we get into today's show, make sure you drop a like, make sure you comment and subscribe, and keep an eye out for future videos because your comment could be featured in one of them. And last but not least, make sure you stay tuned to the very end of the episode to see who my weekend warrior is. But let's get into today's show, and we have to start right here with one Wardell Stephen Curry II. You ain't have to do the city of Sacramento and the Sacramento Kings like that, Steph. Chef Curry dropped 50, the most points scored in Game 7 history, to go along with 8 boards and 6 assists as the Golden State Warriors got over their road woes to close out the Kings in Sacktown. After E40 was kicked out of Game 1 in Sacramento, the longtime Golden State fan, he got the last laugh and he told the Kings when to go. But in a game where no other Warrior eclipsed even 17 points, it was all Curry in one of the greatest performances from one of the greatest players in NBA history. Now, Stephen Curry will face off against arguably the greatest player in NBA history with a lot on the line. LeBron James and the Lakers, who have the Western Conference's best record since the All-Star break. They took care of the Grizzlies and Dylan Brooks in Game 7 to send Mr. Brooks back home like a thief in the night. Not only will this series between the Lakers and the Warriors likely decide who represents the West in the NBA Finals, because who trusts the Suns' depth and who trusts Nikola Jokic in the final series. This series between the Lakers and Warriors, it'll also be used in legacy debates for years, for decades to come. LeBron and Steph, they have played against each other in 22 NBA Finals games. They have 4 rings apiece, and although LeBron is obviously the GOAT, the greatest of all time when it comes to basketball, in my eyes, there will be people who will argue, and maybe even rightfully so, that Curry's career would be greater than LeBron's with a 5th ring. But I don't see it that way. And a little spoiler alert for you. Come closer. Come a little closer. Look closer. Lakers in 7. Book it here right now. You heard it first. But this is going to be an all-time series against 2 all-time greats. Get ready for a classic. These Western Conference playoffs are going to be exciting to watch. But let's move on here. Staying in the association, though. And like I mentioned at the top, man, I got some proof for you. I got some proof of something that a lot of you probably don't want to hear. And that's that the NBA playoff bubble in 2022 that was brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, it was not a fluke. It was indeed not a fluke. And again, like I said, I got some evidence here for you. So let's get to that. Of course, we've heard all the jokes before actually we get into that. We've heard all the jokes. We've heard that wasn't real basketball, of course. We heard that fans weren't even there. LeBron and the Lakers got a Mickey Mouse ring. But let's actually take a look at the teams that found success during that bubble run down in Florida in 2020. How about the 2 conference semifinalists from that year? The Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets. Both of those teams are right back on track to return to the conference finals with essentially the same core of players. Obviously, the Celtics still have their duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The Nuggets still have their core of Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. Their success doesn't look like a fluke now, does it? I don't think so. How about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, who pushed the Los Angeles Lakers to 6th game in the bubble NBA Finals? Oh yeah, they just knocked off the #1 seed in 5 games and then proceeded to walk into Madison Square Garden to take Game 1 in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And of course, the Lakers, who were crowned the champions in the NBA bubble, oh yeah, they're right back in the conference semifinals again against the Warriors with a great chance of getting back to the NBA Finals. So while I'd like to say this, if you still think the NBA playoff bubble was a fluke, just stop hating. But let's move on now here to the 2023 NFL draft that came and went last weekend without much disappointment. But one team in particular did leave more to be desired with their selections, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously in need of a wide receiver with Keenan Allen aging and Mike Williams' injury history, Chargers GM Tom Telesco decided to select TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnston with the number 22 overall pick, which would have been a really nice selection if Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison, two superior wide receivers, weren't still on the board. Of course, those two future studs went right after Johnston went at 23 and 24 with back-to-back picks to the Ravens and the Vikings, respectively. Do y'all remember that clip from the 2020 NFL Draft when the Philadelphia Eagles selected Jalen Reagor at 21st overall, and the Vikings brass was seen laughing before sending their pick in for Justin Jefferson with the very next pick? Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations. But as far as winners, there were a couple. The Eagles obviously somehow went to the Super Bowl and then somehow went on to win the subsequent NFL draft, thanks in large part to Howie Roseman, who needs to really write a book on this general managing thing. Philly is now Georgia North after they drafted Jalen Carter, then Nolan Smith, and then trading for DeAndre Swift, the Lions running back. The Eagles were obviously a clear winner of the draft, and now they're the NFC favorite. The Seattle Seahawks, man, general manager John Schneider had another excellent draft for the second straight year after grabbing arguably the class's top corner in Devon Witherspoon from Illinois and the top wide receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba, Ohio. So he's going to be a future star. And there was one other team who had a very interesting, intriguing draft, but I got to go into more detail on that. So check out Proctor's POV later today to see that answer. But let's move on here and close with my weekend warrior, somebody I have to pay homage to, somebody who was affectionately named Jimmy G Buckets by Stacey King, and the G stands for Gits. Jimmy Butler is my weekend warrior for going into a hostile Madison Square Garden atmosphere on Sunday afternoon and dropping 25, 11, and 4 in a huge Game 1 road victory. This man even stayed in to finish the game after badly rolling his ankle with about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. This man, simply put, is a dog, the definition of it. And after watching Jimmy torch the top-seeded Bucks last week, scoring 56 points and 42 points to close out Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, in addition to Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez, who are pretty good defenders, it had me wondering why this man, Jimmy Butler, isn't looked at as a top 5 player. In fact, in 3 of the last 4 postseasons, check the numbers, check the stats, Jimmy has been him, inarguably a top 5 player in the NBA. That's when it matters most, right? In the playoffs, in the postseason, when all the pressure is high. He might not be a top 5 guy in many people's eyes, but he's my weekend warrior. And a lot of outlets out there might not want to use the real Jimmy Butler headshot photo media day, but right here at Last Weekend in Sports, we will. But let us know how you're feeling about this weekend warrior and these topics we perused here today from this past weekend. Drop a like, drop a comment as always, and make sure you subscribe to catch next week's episode of Last Weekend in Sports. Thanks for watching. Feel free to check out our other videos and don't forget to smack that subscribe button down below while you're at it. Also, for more great and original content, head right over to bvmsports.com.